There he is.
Here
There's
we
the
are.
man.
Here we are, guys. Friday, fun day once again. We have rolled around to it. It's the end of March as well, too. Right? We are through the Ides of March, and spring is in the air, brother. Spring is in the air.
Well, all right, I'm going to get this off my chest. 2025 can it can go do some unsavory things. I'm done with 2025 already. Like, I think, man, I don't know. I just, it's weird. I think, I had this bacterial infection there. I mean, since November, lasted into the new year. And then for some reason, I think I got COVID. I'm pretty sure I had COVID. And so I probably talked about that last week, and I just don't remember because, that's what that stuff does to you. But yeah, so yeah, I'm already sick of it. I am glad to see the weather turning though. The weather, I mean, thank thank God for. I mean, I always question, like, why do I still live in this area? Why do I still live in Missouri? It just gets miserable. It really does. But hey, I'm here. You're here, so I guess
For
we're gonna
now.
yeah, for now, yeah, that's right.
Well,
All right, man.
welcome to the Creative Real Estate Mastery Investing Podcast for today. And Mr. Kaufman, what is on tap for today's episode?
All right, so we're gonna get. I'll call it fluffy. We're gonna get a little fluffy today. Yeah, we're
vulnerable. We're gonna be vulnerable.
Yeah, you can call it that. I call it fluff. So I thought today, we would talk a little bit about fear and kind of what it does and how it can adversely affect your business. And so we're going to talk a little bit about fear and growth, and then ultimately betting on yourself. So I don't know where we want to kick this thing off at, but I guess we're kind of inspired, a little bit by we're having a guest on next week.
Yes.
And man, she's just doing big things, and I followed her for a lot of years, and just really impressive. And so it just kind of reminded me, every once in a while you need a reset. You need to reset your way of thinking and your mindset, and and really check the fear. Try and check the fear at the doors. Everybody has it. Everyone experiences this. And if you ever really look at just the big players out there, people that do really big things, it might be inspiring at the time, but I guarantee you those people, I promise you, they had just as much fear as you and I have had. It's just a difference of how people handle it. And some people feed off of it, and some people become what am I looking for? More averse to it.
And, shrink away. You can embrace the fear, or you can shrink away from it. Yeah. It's your choice.
Yeah, right? I mean, and we're all guilty of it. At some level, we're all guilty of it. So, we are just. I know we've already talked about this and announced this. We're getting into territory that neither one of us has ever been in before. And in fact, I think as of, what was it, last Friday or something like that?
Yeah.
We actually signed a commitment, an agreement with a consulting company to help us create a fund, this real estate fund. And maybe to some people that doesn't sound like a very big deal, but I know personally to me, it's a huge deal. Because it is, I believe it's the stepping stone into some, two things. One, it's a stepping stone into some uncomfortable territory, but it's also getting us, or at least on a personal level, it's getting me to where I want to be, personally later on down the road. So very uncomfortable. My palms are sweating thinking about it. Uh, and you've mentioned it before too, that it's this has to be pristine. Those are your words.
Mm.
It has to be pristine. It has to be done correctly the first time. And I think that's probably the thing that uh, that realization probably is what instills more fear in me, is just the prospect of, man, can I do this? Am I gonna take a wrong step? Am I gonna mess this up somehow? And you know, I think quite honestly, I don't know if I could do it alone. To be honest with you, I probably could, but it would probably be one of those things where I'm just like, man, what am I doing? So I'm grateful to have a partner and sidekick in it, in what's about to happen. So anyway, I've taken up all the time already, man. You got to shut me up from time to time.
It's all good. I like that. Let's take a step back though, and just say, like, why don't maybe let's just toss this question out and for a minute. It's like, why do people play it safe? You know what I mean? Like, why don't you take the next step?
Yeah.
Scale the business, right? We call it scaling, level up, scale the business, all those sorts of things. Is like, why don't you do that?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes, like for me, it's logistical, especially. All right, so let's go back to when I started real estate, right? Many years ago. Seems like just a couple of weeks ago, so from some aspects, but I was working the 9 to 5 job, right? And so you can only there's only 24 hours in a day. Everybody gets 24 hours in a day. And so those 24 hours, you have to pick and choose, right? And you spend 10 of them working for the man, and you spend 8 of them sleeping, right? That's 6. Got to eat. All that's it. Like there's 4 or 5 hours there that you have to use. So sometimes it's just there's not enough hours in the day. You're a one person show. Like I mentioned this to you earlier. You're a one person show, and it's just like everything lands on you. I mean, you've got to go out there and look at the properties. You got to go out there and meet with the sellers. You got to do the contracts. You got to make sure the closing's on time. You have to run the spreadsheets. You have to do all of that stuff. And so sometimes you just honestly you don't know how to, especially if you're working in a 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
Well, I think what you said though is so important. It's like, okay, get out of your own way and partner up with people, right? Partner up with people. Like that's one quick way to get yourself to scale up. Now, and when we say scale up, scale up can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It could be number of deals, could be number of dollars in your bank account, could be a lot of different things, right? Or a number of coaching students, like in our case, whatever that looks like, can mean a lot of different things to a lot of people. But partner with people to get where you want to go faster.
Yeah.
Right.
Very good
So
point.
yeah, that's one thing I would say about playing safe, and why. And it took me a lot of years before I did that. And really, I only started partnering on a bigger scale with people when I was getting close to retiring and getting out of the 9 to 5 game. And I think the other thing for me too is you get complacent. Like, I mean, I'll just be honest, a pretty good life. Like I can go do what I want when I want to. I can buy just about anything I want to. I mean, I'm in that position. And it's just like, okay, what does scale up mean to me? And where does that want to be? Like, I know the answer to that now, right? Because I'm in a different spot and say, okay, this is the next level for me. And how do I get there? But for a lot of years, especially when you're working that 9 to 5 job and you got that income coming in, like you get complacent, right?
Yeah.
Complacency is a whole separate issue. The reason why the government's screwing all of us too, because we're complacent and don't take a larger role in our actual republic. That's a whole separate story, right? Off my soapbox now. That's a whole separate issue. But it is, I mean, complacency is one of those things that sneaks up on you sometimes and you don't even know, right?
Right.
And it can like limit you, it keeps you in your box. But we need to get out of the box, right? We get out of the box. And
Yeah.
fear, yeah, fear, like you said, it's interesting. What's the I haven't asked you this too. I'm just gonna put you on the spot here, right? Since we're live. I can't remember what it was. It might have been before the new year too. I was like, all right, if we're gonna do this fun deal, like we just need to do it. And like we're leveling up and doing all that stuff too. So like what got you over that hump? Because we've actually been talking about it for several years. That's always been a goal of yours, right? To have a higher scale fund and to kind of get more on the private lending side. So why now? I guess is my question for you. Like, why now? Why do you think now is the time? Like we already jumped in, like you said, we're 2 feet in the water already, but why now?
Well, I think it's been the realization that I'm not old. I'm only 50 years old, but it's a realization that, all we have in this world is time, really. And so for me, as I get older, I am realizing that, I love I love doing the house. I love buying houses. I love buying properties. I love real estate in general. But sometimes, well, not sometimes, the majority of the time, it requires so much of my time that, I don't get to experience a lot of the things that I want to experience in life. So, this 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 fun thing is right up my alley because it allows me to stay involved in real estate. It allows me to stay in the transactions and manage the transactions. But I don't have a lot of the headaches. So, I'm this is why I got into the seller finance model also, because I don't like the headaches of of the buy and hold of buy and hold properties. I don't like the headaches that come along with that. So I got the seller finance model to kind of rid myself of some of those duties of taking care of those properties. And I'm talking about the rental properties. It's the same thing with this fund. It's like, okay, now I can be potentially I can be a note holder. I could be a note buyer. Um, I can, uh, I can hold paper versus actually holding on to the properties. When I don't, I can provide capital to people who actually love doing that stuff and still be able to live the lifestyle that I want to live. Ultimately, I think we talked about this. Maybe it wasn't last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. It's designing your life how you want to live, how you perceive your life. It's what are your personal goals, and then you build a business around achieving those personal goals. At least that's what I do. And the fund, that's what I ultimately want out of this fund. I want a personal lifestyle that I design and that I can execute on. And I just think that this is the way to go. And I do want to roll back though, just for a quick second. You said something about scale and what scale actually means to other people. Some people, I'm going to tell you, depending on what area it is in real estate, I don't really care for scale, to be honest with you. So scaling my real estate business is not something that I want to do. I'm one of those people. I am perfectly happy with going out and buying one or two houses, uh, maybe flipping two, three, four houses a year, and it feeds my lifestyle, and I'm totally happy with that. Where you have other folks that, I mean, they're just driven so hard, and they ramp up their number of employees, they ramp up their all their marketing. They get out there and they're killing it, and that's totally fine. I totally respect that. That's just not me. That's just not what I choose to do. And talking about scaling, you have if you're going to scale, you have to do it through partnerships, or I wouldn't even say partnerships, um, because I would not want the public to believe that you need a partner to be successful in this business. You don't. It's just not.
No,
It's not true at all.
but it
If
helps.
Well, I would be very, 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 very careful. I would choose a partner very wisely. The partners that I have in my businesses now, yourself included. I mean, like, dude, you have no idea how good it feels um, to not have to go in and check your bank account. To check, I mean, honestly,
Very
it is such a good feeling. Like, you know, to know that I don't have to look over my shoulder all the time, and that's honestly the biggest hurdle, I think. Um, and of course, we can talk about core values and what have you, um, but yeah, that's what. So I'm just saying, don't go out and get a partner just for the sake of getting a partner, because you really need to vet who you're who you're. I almost said climbing into bed with, but you understand what I'm saying. Like,
Climbing into business with. Yeah,
yeah,
same
yeah,
principle. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you really, really got to be careful with that. It's a. I mean, it can. I Look. I'm living proof. I have chosen bad partners in the past, and man, I'll tell you, I have been taken for a ride with some of them. So, um, but yeah, so I think ultimately, um,
Yeah.
getting uncomfortable with creating like you said this, I think in the last podcast, we talked about, we're actually, we're taking funds from people that have spent their lifetimes accumulating, wealth, a bank account, and everything. And we're taking those funds and putting that money to work for them. And it just has to be, uh, I mean, it has to be perfect. You can't, scariest thing on earth to me is, and I guess this is where the fear side of this is. I'm not afraid to take the step of, I mean, it's an SEC filing. It's a PPM. Really, it's not that difficult to get that stuff done. It's where the rubber meets the road and you're actually taking people's money and putting it to work for them. That's the part that I'm like, okay, I've got to have my shit together. I've
Yeah.
got to have it together
Ensuring the return.
for sure. Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Yep. So, yeah, that's those are my thoughts on it. I just think that, if I continue to play it safe, I'm gonna. What's the saying? Continue doing what you're doing, you'll continue to get what you got. So, it's not that I'm unhappy or anything like that where I'm at, but I'm ready for bigger and better adventures. So, uh, as
Level
I
up.
say, playing it safe, playing it safe works until it does no longer work.
The yeah, it's interesting. So to answer your question, I'll be, since I put you on the spot, I'll answer the question like why now. So I've been thinking a while, and I think what you said is true. Like, okay, I like doing the real estate stuff. I buy this property, have that, flip this property, coach the students. Like I like doing that stuff, but it's not. I don't know. Well, first of all, I know that I logistically couldn't handle. Let's say we had 100 students like join tomorrow. Like I mean, that's a logistical problem that we would have, especially trying
Mhm.
to legitimately do our coaching the way we do our coaching calls, where we vet deals and all that stuff too. I mean, that would almost become impossible with the sheer numbers. Now, would we love 100 students? Of course, but we also want to make sure we're doing the job right, right? And we're getting they're getting their money's worth. So there's a point there's like, okay, what's the maximum, like what's the limiting factor here, and how do we go beyond that? So I think for me, one of those, like creating the fund, like that, the next evolution of real estate for me is the fund, like going from being in the middle of all the deals to being, I guess what you said, like umbrella over the top of all the deals, like helping other people scale is something that I think I would prefer now at this point in my, you know, real estate adventure and point in life and all that stuff. Like, so, plus also too, I don't want to gloss over the fact you mentioned picking partners and all that stuff too. We got to take a step back and you have to know your strengths, right? So you have to know your strengths as an individual person, and then partner with somebody that exemplifies your strengths. In other words, is really good at your weaknesses, right?
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
That's what you have to do. You have to have a complementary partner. Not, I mean, it could work if you both have, kind of the same strengths, but typically it works better if you have complementary partners about going forward. And so one of the reasons I really wanted to level up and just get into the fund evolution, right, for our businesses, that's when I take a step back and look at it, like that's my strength. Like that type of thing is much more of a strength than being a being a landlord known as buying whole property, which is fine. I like it. I don't love it. I love numbers, right? I'm the math and science guy, geek, all right, you might say. And so like that, I don't know, it seems to be
Mr. Spreadsheet over here. Yeah.
it seems to be more in the wheelhouse too, where you got to vet the deals. But you're right. Let's talk about. Let's dive into the fear. So when we get people give us $50,000, $100,000 of their money to deploy for them, right? They're counting on us for a return. We're trying to make a return for them, right? Right, and kind of guarantee a return, and then hopefully get better than that for them. Yeah, and what if we fail? Okay, I've never failed at anything like that. Like if someone else is depending on me, like if from a partner situation in there too, and like we have to come through or we have to make this deal work, like I've not, like it's never failed. And so, but there is some fear there. There's some fear back there too.
Oh yeah.
Because you constantly on the scale we're talking about with the real estate fund, from a deal standpoint, a deal flow standpoint into the fund, like it's going to have to be at a pretty high level to make sure we get that return. So that is something a little different that we'll have to deal with. That apprehensive.
Yeah.
Right. Apprehensive about. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like either one of us haven't experienced. I mean, this is the same type of fear, ultimately, that I had when before you came in to Sub2 Empire. Same type of thing. It's like, especially, you want to talk about imposter syndrome, man. Right before I started Sub2 Empire, you know this because you were kind of involved in a little bit, but I got scammed hardcore. I mean, it bankrupted me. I mean, I just couldn't. I got scammed on a deal, and it was just really, really bad timing. And so then, I had always had this idea of starting a program like Sub2 Empire. It wasn't called, I didn't actually come up with the name until way later, but it was like, it's like, man, how can I go out into the world and kind of, market my wares, and build this program after having just been through all of this. And I mean, I'm telling you, I struggle with it so far, but it was just like, I think I'm trying to correlate this with the fun. It's because it's that same type of mental space, or that mental block, and that feeling that you got, like, you know what, I know what I'm doing. I made a mistake. I'm paying for that mistake now, but I know what I'm doing. In fact, now I know 10 times more than I did prior to this whole event going on, or this whole event happening. And so I just put my head down and said, I'm just going to build this thing and see what happens, and ultimately, I mean, the launch of Sub2 Empire, I think on the first day when that was launched, we had something like 13 or 15 folks sign up that very first day. And that's really all it took for me. It was like, okay, you're just being a big baby. You're being a baby about this. You've got it. And honestly, the whole thing was built on transparency and letting those people know where I was at, and just not BSing them. And really, that's what it was all about. And so moving forward into into the fun creation side of things, I have that same exact. It's a mirror. It's a the feeling is exactly the same. It's like, okay, I know what I'm doing, but there's always that little voice in the back of your head going, "Uh-oh, you better not screw this up." You know what I mean? So it's just, and really, I think what I hope is that maybe what we'll do is we'll direct some of our investors to some of these videos, and because I think I'm very serious about it. I know you're serious about it, and you're like you are Mr. Spreadsheet. Like you're seriously, I can't do what you do. So I think I think that our strengths together really could really blow this thing up. So
I think so.
yeah,
Yeah, I think I'm just ready. You gotta say, and sometimes too. I mean, people that don't know us are looking at us like we're just a couple of regular guys, to be honest. I mean, right? We've done a lot of real estate deals over the years. We've made a lot of money. We've made plenty of mistakes. You just mentioned. I mean, over the years, but we know it works, and especially creative stuff. We've been doing creative stuff for years and years, even before the Sub Two bandwagon was out there, right? And we've been didn't even know. Hell, I didn't even know I was doing creative stuff 15 years ago.
I didn't either. I didn't either. 10 years ago, I had no idea that this was the quote creative. I mean, what is creative? It's just become the big the go-to, the big buzzword out there. It's kind of silly, to be honest with you, but
But I
it's
think
just deals.
yeah, but I think what you said is right though. Like I am confident now when I say, without trying to be an egotistical ass, I'm confident when I say, like, I'm an expert in real estate deals. I think I've done enough of them now, especially like even on the creative stuff. Like I think I know enough about it now to call myself an expert. You know what I mean? And,
Hmm.
and sometimes you got to get out of your own head, right? Like, and you're an expert. Like you've done probably by sheer number, specifically more creative deals, way more than I have, right? And so you're like, what's the next level? But I know you don't like the term guru, so I won't use guru, but you're like the next level expert. You know what I mean? Specifically on that model. And you know what? We know it works. It works on residential properties. It works on commercial properties. It works on multifamily. Like it works. And sometimes you just have to get a. And how do we know it works, Jeff? Like one of the things I was thinking the other day, and this is sometimes you're. This was on a coaching call, by the way, and we were saying that, and one of our students, one of our partners said, "Well, this obviously works. I've just closed 2 deals." Okay,
Yep.
well, yeah, it works. Like we're like, yes, that's exactly right. And it's like, okay, all you have to do is sometimes is just listen to the experts, right? Just follow
And
the
get out of your own way.
get out of your own way, right?
Yep.
That's the fear. That's the number one thing that can overcome your fear, right? Is having somebody hold your hand that's been through it. Like, and that's what we're trying to do here. And
Right.
even when we go to the next level of the fund, we're still gonna do that, right? One of the purposes of creating the fund is for our students slash partners that we're gonna have come in there is that we're gonna hold their hand through the deals. Like we know what a deal is at this point, right? Like we can vet the deal pretty short order. So like that's one of the things that our goal is, because we know the creative stuff works. Why not fund it for our people?
Yep.
Right? That's one of the things for me. Is just like, okay, let's get the next level and let's get it in place.
Right. Yeah. I mean, kind of on that, along those same lines. I know I I personally have never lost. This is I better knock on some wood. But I have never lost. I've never lost money on a deal, on a creative deal, ever, not one time. Now, I've lost. I haven't lost. I've broken even for sure. Um, on cash deals, because you got to be really really careful with
Yeah.
some of those. I mean, and I don't know that even makes a difference. I just know that on the creative side, maybe I could have done something different on the cash deals, and calculating the expense of that money, and there's something that always pops up. But on the creative stuff, I've never lost a dime on any of that stuff. And like what you're saying, the student that we're talking about, I think I know who you're talking
Mm.
about. Yeah, he he just needed someone to kind of drag him along and help him get out of his own way.
Yep.
And it's the same thing we're talking about. He had this fear. He's at that, he's just at this stage in this business where he's at that level. He's asking himself constantly, like, what, you know is got analysis process. Should and what if I fail at this? You know should and if it's the same person we're talking about, I know that he's quit his job, and so it's easy for him to to spiral down and get into this get into these what if scenarios all the time. So I think most people, when they think safety, they think of a job. They think of, what's the safest thing. The problem with that way of thinking is it usually coincides with what is the easiest thing.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you right now, the easiest thing is almost always the wrong thing to do. Almost always. There is more failure in people taking the easy route, in my opinion. I don't have any kind of facts or numbers to back this up, but it's just what I've experienced. People that take the easy route in anything generally either don't have as much success, or they just flat out fail. Um, so I love this. I love the term here. Safety becomes a ceiling when you're trying to scale, because you
Yep.
you get this. By the way, this mentality actually it actually permeates your mind. And if you think of it too much, if you allow that to happen too many times, it becomes a permanent fixture and it becomes who you are. So I think I think that right now this is the right step at the right time for us to take. And I need a good jolt to my system. I really do. I think it's the best way that I learn. It's the best way that I grow, and I think there's massive benefits to what we're doing here,
So,
especially for the students, obviously,
oh,
because I mean, like you're saying, that the whole it all kind of is coming together, where those fears about. In fact, I've done it before. I think you've done it before too. We sit around, we analyze these deals, and by the time we're done analyzing, the deals are gone.
yeah,
And
yeah, I don't do that
and one of
anymore.
the big things
Yes, for
is,
sure.
yeah, one of the big things is, well, even if that is a good deal, how am I going to get the deal funded? And that's really what the very first question that I asked myself way back when I started, kind of, I won't say coming up with this creative stuff, but when I started buying properties, it's the same question I asked myself: how am I going to fund this deal? Well, that's the whole reason behind this fund.
Mm.
That's why we're getting this fund going, because it's gonna be an all encompassing thing. We take partners come into the program. Um, we teach them how to find these deals. We teach them how to structure these deals, the funding that they need for these deals, since they're part of the program, since they are our partners, and and we also get to vet these deals with them. We can now confidently feel good about providing them funding for
Mm.
these deals as well. So I'm feeling really, really good about it.
Yeah, for sure. What I think what you're saying, it's a mindset shift, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, you have to just get to the point where, okay, I'm pretty good. I've put this ceiling above me, right? Wisely, or maybe not, or I've falsely put a ceiling up there, right? And so you don't grow unless you're on the edge of discomfort. Another item in here, that's pearls of wisdom, right? So you have to get a little uncomfortable. In other words, you have to take your leg, lift it up, and put it on the other side of the box you're in. Just one. Hey, maybe not both. Just one leg, and see how it feels, right? and you have to change the mindset shift too. It's just like, okay, what if I fail? What if you succeed?
Right.
Right? Like just ask the question differently. As soon as that comes in your mind, just say, okay, and what if I succeed? What does it look like when the fund is operating, the deal flow is there, and the return is going to the investors? What does that look like? Because I need, and this is so true too. People say this, it's like the mysticism, the universe, the whatever you want to call it. It's like what you focus on does tend to come to reality in one way, shape, or form, right? So instead of thinking about the failure, you got to think about the success, and then you'll be much more likely to succeed, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think that, like, you make a really good point, because depending on what you're focused on, if you're focused on, well, what's the easiest way I can do this, versus, oh my God, I can go this way, but this is fear. This is where, this is the scary part. This is the hard part. If you're fearful and that's already on your mind, if what you're about to, no matter where you're at, like no matter where you're at with in your real estate career, really anything else, but we're going to stick with real estate. But if you have a fear of what is over here, that is a signal that you are headed in the right direction, and that's where you really need to be focused on, is that fear, because everything else, like you just said to me, you know, I hate to repeat this, because I don't like to talk about myself. But it's like, you know, you said something to the effect of, we're experts at this, and I don't even look at it that way. I just look at it as, I just had a series of events happen that that were very fearful, but I moved towards the fear, and now those things are just, they're literally just they're just steps in on a flow chart. That's all they are at this point. It's just you know it literally is like, I've got a flow chart in my head. I'm a visual guy anyway, so I have paint these pictures in my head. I just got this flow chart of all these things that have happened, and I know if this happens, I go here. If this happens, I go here. It's literally just systems that are built out in my head. But it was all done. That was built through just taking the next step. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, no matter where you are at in your real estate journey, I don't care if you've never done a deal, maybe you've never sent out a piece of marketing, any of that, whatever is holding you up, whatever is holding you back, that is what you need to be focusing on. It's on your mind anyway. Like, it's already implanted in your mind. So why not just tackle that? Why not just take the next step?
Yeah.
Embrace
it, as they say, right?
Yeah. I always look at, it's funny, because I tell my wife this too sometimes. It's like, oh, what do I say? I had something that I would say. Oh, it was like, well, you know what? I'd just be repeating myself, but I can't remember the exact phrasing that I said. So I'm not going to try and butcher it here, but essentially it was move towards those things that you don't like doing. And, or maybe not that you don't like doing, but maybe those things that give you that little, like you're a little taken aback, like, I can't do that. That's too big for me. But it's really all baloney. I mean, you think about, if you think about like some of the, I hate to bring his name up, but like Elon Musk, you think about that. Think about what that dude's doing. And, maybe he's just built differently. I don't know. But I guarantee you,
he's wired a little different. That's true. But
Yeah.
yes, it doesn't change the fact he's a successful businessman. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, I've kind of beaten that horse a little bit, but the point I'm trying to make is, it doesn't matter where you're at. Everybody has fear. Everybody has something holding them back, and that's the thing. Since it's already there, since it's already present in your mind, why not focus on it and tackle it? Make it your next challenge.
Yep. Yes. How do you overcome it? That's the question. Like, what do you need to overcome it? We've already talked about that stuff. Like, how do you embrace that too? Well, one is you have to decide she said like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. We're going to do this different, right? Switch your mindset too. Say, okay, what if I succeed instead of what if I fail, right? And what does that look like, right? So some other things just to kind of tie it all back a little bit too. Some other things we said to embrace that discomfort is you could partner with somebody that complements right strength that will help you with that weakness, right? Fear, whatever you want to call it, right? That'll help you overcome that gap, bridge the gap. We like to say bridge the gap. It always sounds better. We want to bridge the gap, right? So we've taught some of that there, like get coaching, hire an expert, get in somebody's program. Like we're not the only rodeo in town. Like join somebody's rodeo though. Like if you really want to succeed, especially with real estate and creative stuff like that, so that's you need $2. Like if you want to fast track that, you can do it yourself. What you said, I think, is perfectly right. You can do it yourself, but how long, how many mistakes, at what expense, right? So if that's one of the things that you don't trust people and you don't want to say, okay, don't partner with somebody right away. Figures it, but you can always expand your knowledge. You can always hire a coach. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't be a real estate coach. Be a health and wellness coach. It can be whatever it is, right? Like you could always have somebody that can take your hand and have you step out of the box, right? So just some, what are those pro tips? I don't know what those are. Pro tips, pearls of wisdom, experience talking, whatever you want to say, right?
I would say, yeah, the latter. It's like, because you don't really know what's coming next until you experience it. That's another thing too. It's one thing to educate yourself or to get wrapped up in trying to figure it all out before you do it, but it really is all about action. It's all about action. I mean, I don't care how much you read, how much you think you know through coaching even. I mean, coaching is great. It can definitely fast track you for sure. But it really all boils down to action. And so I guess kind of in closing, I think what I want to do is I want to challenge. I want to challenge anyone who listens to this to do one thing this week and each week thereafter. And that is to commit to doing one uncomfortable action this week. You don't even have to be successful at it, but you just have to get uncomfortable. Commit to identify one thing that, like we talked about earlier, it's already in your head. You already think about it. You're afraid of it. So therefore it's already implanted in your brain. Take one of those things. If you have multiple of those, take one of those and take a step towards that and get uncomfortable. Take one uncomfortable action this week and then the subsequent weeks thereafter, and measure yourself. See where you're at in, say 6 months, and see what you've accomplished. So that's really all I have on it. It's kind of a hard thing to convey because I think everybody experiences this differently, and everyone has different reactions to fear. And the partner thing is a great idea. I will warn again, this is a marriage, and
business marriage. That's right. Yeah.
You have to choose wisely. So just because you're afraid of something doesn't necessarily mean you need a partner. But if you want to move things faster, if you want to scale and move faster, a partner is a good way to go. You just got to be really careful in vetting that partner. So, all right. Have you got anything else, Ken?
I don't think so. I think we're good. And I just say we decided to do this today, as you mentioned, going all the way back to the beginning too, is because we're trying to alter our mindset, take the next step, scale our own business, right? And we have a guest coming on next week that has definitely gotten out of the box, scaled the business. And so it's going to be Lindsay Whitaker, right? Missouri Multifamily. And we're going to have her on to talk about some of those things. And some of those things you're going to hear just from her. I'm pretty sure just from her story about where she was and where she is now, about scaling and how to do that. And just like,
it's amazing. Yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah,
what she's
it's
done.
gonna be. It's definitely worth tuning into. So,
Yep.
so catch that next week for sure.
All right, guys. As always, if you guys want to go check us out over at sub2empire.com, we have all the links in the, depending on where you're coming from, have all the links in the description here. Go check us out, see what we got going on, see something you like. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Other than that, I think we're going to call this.
That's right. We will.
All right.
We'll see you next week.